working now? It says it's
Yeah, that's
working on
working now, James. We can
Yeah,
see your screen.
perfect.
Thank you. Thanks very much, guys.
Live demonstrations. Okay, so as Laurence mentioned, what we're going to focus on in the context of the actual demonstration really is about the shift left approach, utilizing self-service portal in the context of customers through automation, really to expedite your service request fulfillment processes, you know, exponentially in the context of how you may potentially be performing things at the moment, primarily through our GUI-driven workflow engine. So what I'm going to do is first and foremost log on to the self-service portal, of which we're presented with a customer dashboard that will give your customers untold amounts of information in the context of pertinent information that's happening across the infrastructure, the utilization at the bottom right of virtual agents and chatbot capabilities, through to common service requests that are requested on a regular basis, and so on and so forth. But in the context of the SDI showcase today, what we're going to look at is a function which is common across every single business worldwide, and that is through the onboarding of a new employee to a business. So if I go to my menu options across the top, the system then presents me with my Amazon, eBay-esque shopping style cart look and feel. So essentially here we can present to customers any relevant request process which they can manage the end-to-end self-serve process. So on the left-hand side, you'll see the second one down is the new employee bundle. Now, as you can see, what we can also do here is essentially unify the process from self-service users' perspective by utilizing full enterprise service management capabilities. So you'll see that not only do we have common IT interactions, such as the ability to manage loan laptop requests, the download of pre-approved software across the business, initiate leaver requests, but also across other business departments. So the ability to lodge a HR query, a facilities incident, to book an airport transfer request, and so on and so forth. So you can provide one single pane of glass for all of your customers' contacts within the self-service portal. But as mentioned, we're going to focus on the new employee bundle for today's demonstration. So if I select it, what the system will do is it will then present to the customer or end user any relevant service action which can be requested as part of this new employee onboarding request. You'll see two of them are mandatory, so we can see the creation of a new account and a new standard laptop is mandatory, and we have a number of optional elements dependent on who the user is within the business. And of course, you can have different types of employee bundles to facilitate different types of employees within the business. So what I'm also going to do is select an Office 365 license and select continue. And what the system will then do is it will present the relevant forms to then populate by the actual customer within them, all the information related to the new employee before they start within the business. And as you can see, we can supplement the forms with imagery, with tooltips and text in the context of how much lead time must be allowed in order to manage all the tasks associated with new employees onboarding, as well as various different types of data validation elements across the toolset. So we can see the title, first name, surname, and so on and so forth as an asterisk next to it, which denotes that it's a mandatory field. So what we can do here is we can start typing in some information for the new employee. We can then go to the drop-down menu for the type of position, where we can select temporary, permanent, or contractor. Now, this gives us a good foundation to look at dynamic fields within the system. So if I select a permanent employee, the system doesn't in fact change, and I can go on and insert all the other details for that new employee. However, if I select, for example, contractor, I now get a contractor temp recruitment firm, because obviously the system assumes that this person has been sourced from a specific contractor recruitment firm. Reverting it back to permanent then essentially makes that field disappear, so you can conditionally present and reuse forms based upon the content of the information that's input by the customer. We can then insert the details of the person, so let's use Tesla. We can insert phone numbers, when the actual new employee is going to start. So let's say we're going to look at next Monday. Insert a business justification. Here you could, for example, also add in other further information, so resumes or CVs, if, for example, there was touch points with HR, screenshots, photos of the employee that's going to be starting, and so on and so forth, to supplement the entire process. And once we're happy, we select continue, and it then goes on to my next form for the new standard laptop to be allocated to Tessa. So here we can allocate the department that Tessa is going to be working in. We can then allocate or pick from the different types of laptops that are available for that specific department within the business. So if I again go to my drop down, here I can see that we've got an Apple MacBook Pro or HP EliteBook. So if I select the MacBook Pro, the system then gives us the specification for the MacBook Pro, as well as the day two actions that are commonly requested as part of the ordering of MacBook Pros. And likewise, hopefully, as you'd expect, if I select HP EliteBook, it then gives me the specification for the HP EliteBook, as well as the day two actions for the HP EliteBook booking as well. I can then insert a business justification and select continue to take me on to my final form for the Office 365 license. So as you'll see here, we've only really got one field for the business justification, but again, the point in the context of the demonstration today is all about automation. So we want you to be able to reuse different types of forms and workflows within the system. So because this is a new user, all we need to do is insert a justification. But let's say, for example, an Office 365 license allocation had been initiated in isolation from a new employee bundle. If an employee already exists across the business, we can simply select this checkbox and then allocate it to a particular user that already exists within the identity management system. So again, it really allows you to repurpose and reuse the information that already exists within the system. And once we're happy, we select submit. And what the system in turn will then do is give a service order for the employee who's just submitted the new employee bundle to track the life cycles of the request from end to end. But also internally, we now have 3 requests which have been dynamically initiated for the creation of the new account, the new standard laptop, and the Office 365 license allocation. So what I'm now going to do is log out as the employee that's just logged it and log in as the line manager of the employee that's just lodged that new employee bundle. Now, the second phase of automation in the context of new employee onboarding is the ability to dynamically route approvals and tasks based upon the person, the content therein of the forms that have been created, and so on and so forth. So you'll see here that Jonathan, who's the line manager, he has an approval for the AD account, for the hardware request for the laptop, for the software request for the 365 account, and 2 supplementary approvals for a review of a contract and likewise the stakeholder on a change. So here I can go into the approval for the AD account, review the core details, who's going to be starting and so on and so forth, and select approve. And insert my security credentials to ensure that we know it is the person that they say they are, and select complete. And that will then go off and go down the next phases indeed of that particular AD account workflow. So if, for example, I jump to the core system, what we have here is our requests for today job queue. So if I just give that a search, we'll now see that we have our create AD account for the new starter. We have the laptop for the hardware, and we have the Office 365 for the software request. Now, obviously, these are live and in real time, but to put some context behind these workflows, if I go to my workflow template administration, what Alemba do is with the Alemba Service Manager solution, we ship with what we call an Alemba Rapid Start pre-built database. So what that means is you actually get a predefined working ITIL aligned solution with pre-built forms, templates, notification templates, workflows from change, release management, service portfolio management, a pre-configured CMDB, service catalog, and so on and so forth. So the realization from time to value for our customers is vastly reduced as opposed to coming to you with just a blank database and saying, what do you want to do? And one of those that we can go through is within our employee management workflow process, which is the create network account. So this is the actual building blocks behind how that account will be created, not only within Alemba Service Manager, but also within Active Directory. So first and foremost, this is the workflow palette. At the top, we've got drag and drop capability. So for anyone that's ever used Visio or Visio S toolsets, you'll easily be able to understand what you need to do to perform and build workflows. Everything is snap, drag and drop to the grid. So again, you can manage links, whether they be approved links, rejected links, add in new tasks, and so on and so forth. So again, it really does endorse that codeless GUI driven workflow configuration. So to explain what's going to happen, as Laurence mentioned within the previous the presentation, we had the managerial approval. Now the next phases completely thereafter are completely automated, both internally and externally out of Alemba Service Manager. So the system will create an AD account within AD. It will then send notifications out to the line manager with the related details. It will then also create the person record within Alemba Service Manager so that when your AD interactions kick in on a given frequency, it can poll and update accordingly. And you can even manage things like delay tasks and not even activate accounts until such a point in time before they start within the business. Now, to show that in real time, going back to my request for today, hopefully if I just give that a search, you'll now see that my AD account request has disappeared. And that's because based upon that managerial approval, it's actually been automatically completed directly within the solution and externally out of the solution. So if we review it, we can see here via color-coded visual depictions, the approvals. Obviously, if it had been rejected, it would be red, and everything which has taken place throughout the entire journey. So just to showcase what's happened, if I go to Active Directory, you'll see that Tessa now exists within Active Directory. So a real key element in terms of automation, both internally within Alemba Service Manager and externally out of Alemba Service Manager itself as well. Now, the next element, just to showcase the Nano interface that Laurence mentioned, is to go through the new standard laptop creation. So if I go to my next tab along, you'll see here that we have our Nano interface. So this is really the streamlined interface for users that don't potentially need the core power of an ITIL aligned solution. So for customers that, for example, are using a system purely for HR, for finance, or second line within IT, third line within IT, then the Nano interface really provides that much more streamlined interaction with a look and feel that's akin to the portal. We've got contractable and expandable options on the left-hand side. We can go to our search menus to review the content therein of the requests that are currently being logged. So if I wanted to go to my hardware one here, you'll see that I've got the SDI laptop. If I just very quickly go back in and approve the laptop for the manager, what we can then do is within Nano, we can open that up, review again the core content of the details. On the right hand side, you'll see we've got icons for attachments, email, reports, and workflow. So now we can see we have yet again a visual depiction of the automated workflow that's taken place. However, this one has a slightly less automated look to it, whereas at the moment we're at the live deploy laptop stage. So if I go into my deploy laptop, what this allows me to do is to take action on the laptop. So if, for example, I'm the technician assigned, I can set it to be completed, insert an asset tag. So for example, if you've had to go off and procure a new laptop, you can insert the tag, or you can allocate a laptop from the already existing inventory. And if I just save this, what the system will then do, as you'll see, is it's now fully closed out of the request. Now, more importantly within this request is this manage CMDB task. And what this allows you to do is essentially control your configuration management database, your asset management, software management function completely from birth through to disposal entirely automatically within the solution. So if I go to my searches, and this time to CMDB, and we look for Tessa, you'll now see that Tessa's HP EliteBook now exists within the inventory. And that then also allows you to then automate further procedures with regards to that laptop. So if unfortunately it was broken, automatically placing it during the stage of retirement, etc., etc. So just showcasing those two examples really showcases the power of the GUI-driven ASM workflow engine. And of course, at the end of service request procedures, incident processes, You can then supplement those with customer surveys, utilising Likert scales, as well as yes/no ratings and so on and so forth. And as I'm sure you've already seen, we also have detailed metrics as part of the solution, API and webhook capabilities, and interaction with, for example, as you can see here, other report management tool sets such as Power BI, Tableau, Click, which again really allows you to offer ease of use extensibility directly out of the tool, whether that be integration through third-party solutions or third-party reporting solutions as well. So with that, I'm going to bring a close to the demonstration and open the floor for questions.
Lovely. Thank you very much, guys. Do have a question actually. Is your CMDB function a flat list of CIs, or does it follow hierarchy relationships?
It's hierarchy relationships. So if I just very quickly log back into the core system, what we ship with, as I mentioned, is within the rapid start build, you have a predefined CMDB item type structure. So what that means is you have, for example, a list of CI types, whether that be servers, mobile switches, and so on and so forth. And what you can then do is hierarchically structure any dependent CI types directly beneath those. So if I go to CMDB here and go to CMDB item types, you'll see here I've got configuration item under end user equipment. I've got varying different types of CI types under there. Obviously, the system is fully able to be managed from an enterprise service management capability. So you can have, for example, here estates, buildings, boilers, kitchens, rooms, toilets, windows, offsite buildings through to whatever level of hierarchical CMDB that you'd like.
Lovely, thank you very much. And then another question is, isn't there a persona-based workflow integration? You had put job title as CEO, high-end laptop, software required. Approvals by path should have been auto-configured. How is Alemba managing VP users stroke joiners?
So obviously, as I mentioned within the demonstration, again, if I just log out of this person and go back in, that and new employee bundle was a generic new employee bundle. So within here, it had generic requests, which are then basically auto-routed for approvals and tasks based upon the person that's logging it. But you can have different packages and bundles to support different types of employees within the solutions that would then obviously auto-route dependent on that employee. So you wouldn't necessarily have, for example, to fill in CEO or sales or projects, and then it would dynamically follow the relevant workflow based upon the rules that are in place within the associated employee bundle workflow package.
Lovely. And another question just in, so just bear with me a second while I pull that up. Is Alemba focusing on predefined ITIL practices, or can it also support smarter and more flexible management systems like USM?
It is obviously aligned to ITIL, the ITIL best practice framework. So with ITIL 3, the system was certified for 13 out of the 16 processes. We've very recently been verified for ITIL 4 practices for 6 of those, with the expectation to obviously add to those throughout the course of the year. But the system is extremely sophisticated, and as I mentioned, does offer extensibility out to other common practices, not necessarily ITIL related. So HR, finance, ERP, facilities, security, incident management, and so on and so forth. The power of the webhooks capability within the solution really allows you to extend through, for example, Azure Logic Apps capabilities to essentially integrate with the vast majority, if not all, solutions that are out there on the market to provide bi-directional event-based trigger hooks to manage essentially any business process within the system, whether that be ITIL aligned or not.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. Well, we'll bring that session to a close, I think. Thank you very much. You're both joining us, aren't you, for the Q&A session? So I think we will now invite all of our presenters to join for the Q&A session. So